everybody? Happy Saturday to you. I hope you are having a great Saturday and an amazing weekend so far. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion, where I like to say, hey, stories come in all shades, and I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that you know by now that I'm crazy about. You know the drill. Hop in to the comments, say hey while I'm making sure that everything is running the way it's supposed to be. I'm streaming on the Facebook group. Thank goodness for that. Let me make sure that I'm streaming in LinkedIn. I don't know why it's not. It doesn't stream on my home page like it used to. I don't know if that's something that they changed. Let me go to the events in LinkedIn. LinkedIn's been acting a little buggy, but like I said, you know the drill. Make sure you hop in there, say hey where you tuning in from, so I can give you a shout out that you so richly deserve there. Yeah, it looks like it's streaming from LinkedIn, just not on my homepage anymore. I guess they cut that out. It used to be where you could. We'll have to test that. Where your live streams would show up on your banner on your homepage as well, so you didn't necessarily have to go all the way to the event. You could just go to my homepage and see it in the banner there. But it looks like I'm at the events on LinkedIn. It looks like it's broadcasting okay. Let me check YouTube real quick to make sure that I am live streaming from YouTube as well, which it looks like I am. All right, looks like we are live streaming from all the channels there. Again, I want to thank you for joining me. We are here every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, live on the YouTube channel, LinkedIn, the Facebook group, and the website for the show. Again, make sure that you hop on over to the YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the bell notification, comment, because that always helps the algorithm as well. But we're definitely looking to grow the YouTube channel, so make sure you hop on over there so that you don't miss out on when you get notified or when the show goes live and when great content goes up on the channel. Also, make sure you get plugged into the Facebook group community as well, facebook.com/group/The Color of Motion. Have a lot of fun there, share industry news, and just all around great conversation. We do have an Instagram page. You can follow us on Instagram, instagram.com, # The Color of Motion. Follow us. We put some shorts up there and other little tidbits as well, for sure. So definitely we want to grow our Instagram channel, course, as well. Also, the store is open. Make sure you hop on over and pick you up some swag items. Got some great shirts, hoodies, mugs. Definitely always, excuse me, always looking to put new things into the store as well. So again, make sure you hop on over there, thecolorofmotion.net/swag. Pick you up something nice. My only request is that if you do pick you up something, make sure you snap a picture of yourself, send it to me so that we can share it on the channel and share it during the show as well. Hey, Miss Maggie, appreciate you stopping by. Hope everything's going well for sure. So thank you for tuning in. So Miss Maggie, loyal viewer as well. Again, I think we pretty much got everything. We're about ready to get this show on the road. What do you say? Again, thank you so much for tuning in each and every week. Hope you are excited about this episode as I am. I love motion graphics, so this is a great episode and I do motion graphics as well. So this is a fun episode for me. So I'm looking forward to sitting down with my next guest and diving into their work. So, without further ado, What do you say we get this show on the road? Hey. Wow. And we are back. We are back. Ah. Miss Maggie, I love that introduction. Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, looking forward to doing something new for season 5. Like I said, it's hard to believe that this season is rolling very quickly. Like I said, next week is our last episode before we take another short hiatus break, going into the last quarter. So wow, can't believe it. Mr. Dewan, appreciate you. Happy Saturday to you there. So, without further ado, what do you say we bring on our next guest? I've been, like I said, so looking forward to this ever since we connected and had a chance to check out his work. But just a little background on my next guest. He started his professional career as a 3D animator, motion designer, and creative director 7 years ago. He's been in love with art and creativity from childhood. He was a comic book artist in junior secondary school, something else we have in common, and a nerd obsessed with fantastical storybooks in primary school. He nurtured the creative fire, growing to become a multi skilled creative director with a thirst for delivering excellent creative contents in animation and motion design. He has collaborated with multiple directors and creative professionals, ensuring the successful completion of high quality projects and campaigns for peak brands, which we will take a look at. Everybody, please help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Mr. David Ayokanmi. Mr. David,
Hello, guys.
how are you? How are you, man?
I'm good, man. I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I'm honored to be on your show tonight.
Okay, let me bump up your audio there. It's a little low. Hopefully, we can
All
roll
right.
with it there.
Is it better? Can you hear me clearly, John?
Yeah, I can
Am
hear
I good to
you.
go
It's
now?
a little low, but we're gonna run with it here. I know you got your earbuds in. It might not be connected to your earbuds, but we're gonna go with it. Uh, what were I like to always start out, get a feel for like when you were younger. What were the type of comics that you enjoyed reading and that really inspired you when you were younger?
Okay. That's a good question, Don. I had an interesting childhood, regarding comics. My dad, for some reasons, just, had this idea of buying a lot of books for us. So I think one of the common comics I grew up with is a popular Nigerian comic called Super Strikers. It's this football comic, about, Nigeria is a place where we are very crazy about football.
Yeah,
It's just this comic about this Nigeria football team. And then I would say I read a lot of comics. I read a lot of traditional comics, folk tales, comics talking about Nigeria, probably ghost stories, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So while I wouldn't say I stuck to a particular type of comics, I'm just saying I just really did enjoy the thought of reading a lot of comic books.
So a lot of the comics that you were reading as you were younger were more traditional Nigerian comics. They weren't like the traditional, X Men or Superman. The traditional Marvel comics that most people grew up in. They were comics that were directly related to your culture.
Yes, definitely,
Oh, that's
definitely.
interesting. Yeah,
Um, I,
that's
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say we there was much access to that, or I was probably not exposed to a lot of Marvel comics, probably because of the environment I came from. So I think we had a lot of good in Nigeria creatives that time creating a lot of cool comics. So I was really privileged to be exposed to this type of Nigerian-based comics, deeply rooted in our tradition. So yes,
yeah.
I would say I got exposed to a lot of that.
Wow, that's interesting. Like I said, most that I've talked to, like I said, that wasn't their first thing that they would say. They would normally say, "Well, we grew up on traditional Disney cartoons or Disney, comics or Marvel comics or DC comics, the traditional, I guess, Western style." Most hadn't really said that. They kind of grew up or there were artists there that were creating local artists or artists that were directly related to your culture or wherever it is that you came from, that they were drawing the artwork. So interesting, interesting. So how did your I mean how did your parents encourage you, if at all, like as you were kind of, I guess, discovering that this was something that you wanted to do? Was this something that your parents were you know accepting of you going into, or kind of hesitant about you getting into, or
Oh, okay, that's a good question, Don. In all honesty, we are in Nigeria. I come from Nigeria, of course. We are very particular about children doing well in terms of education. And my earlier days, I wasn't doing very well. I was very much about this whole creative life, even at from primary school, junior secondary school. I was all about comics, drawing, and it was many times at the expense of my education. So I wasn't performing very well in school. And for that reason, my parents didn't. They felt I was getting distracted.
mm,
With all of the comics and all of this drawing I was doing. Well, I was actually a little bit of a star boy in school because I had my mate in school enjoying the comics I did. But then it took a while for them to actually realize that maybe this was just the path for me. I eventually got better academically, but it took a while. And, when they started discovering that I am actually passionate about creating cool stuff, about drawing, about doing all of that. So eventually they just started, falling in line. And I'll say unintentionally too, they kind of supported me by, buying a lot of books for me while I was younger. My dad just has this, he had this habit of buying so much books. Aside from the comics book I read while growing up, there's this particular author called Anything, and a lot of books like that. I would say I read a lot of books while growing up, and I would say indirectly, he probably didn't know that it was, fueling up this creative spirit in me. But by reading a lot of books, by seeing a lot of pictures, I just started falling in love with the idea of, wanting to create stuff. My mind started traveling to places even at a very young age.
wow, yeah. All right, we are having an amazing conversation with my man, Mr. David. There, I'm not for sure, but because I'm kind of loosely monitoring, but it looks like we may have some issues on LinkedIn. If you have been watching it from LinkedIn, let me know because it doesn't look like I can get it to go into the broadcast on LinkedIn. Okay, well maybe it's acting kind of wonky there. I don't know. LinkedIn is kind of having some issues, so you may need to jump over to the YouTube channel or the Facebook group or the website for the show. It's still going on over there as well. So just letting you know that LinkedIn may be giving me some issues today. Uh, so for you, it wasn't hard, I guess, finding your little community of other friends that were interested in the same things, comics and just telling stories. Was it really hard kind of finding that community of local friends that were interested in the same kind of things that you were interested in?
Oh, okay, okay. In all honesty, I don't think it's actually a very easy journey, or I don't think it has been an easy journey. I would say the whole, I've been creating for many years actually, and I would say this whole journey started paying off recently. I started meeting people. I think it's not very easy for every artist or any artist, finding your community at first because there's a whole lot of years where you do a lot of work and people don't just understand. People don't just connect with your work at the initial stage. In fact, one of the very painful truths we artists have to face is that when you are starting your career, you might not have all of the followers, you might not have all of the likes, and many times you get discouraged
Yeah,
and might not even want to put out your work, and that makes it difficult for you to have a community or build a community. But I would say with consistency, I've been able to meet a lot of people who have said, "Wow, David, I like your work. Wow, David, I would like to work with you." And eventually, I'm very big on relationship. I keep on trying my best to assist people. I've also have a lot of people say, "Wow, David, I want to learn from you. How do you do this stuff?" So I think the secret to building community, to finding your community, is to stay humble, is to be open, is to keep on sharing irrespective of how many people are liking your work or all of that.
yeah.
It might not be very easy at the first space, but I think if you stay consistent, you'll definitely find your people.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. That's some great advice. And we're going to take a quick look at some of David's work before we dive more into asking some questions there. Again, make sure you hop into the comments. Say hey, where you're tuning in from. Mr. Dewan says, "Welcome there, David." Appreciate that there, Dewan. He's enjoying the show for sure. So let's take a quick look at some of David's work before we dive into some more. Right? Awesome, awesome. All right, some great work. So, I mean, you know, you got into what is it about like product design or product animation that kind of excites you and that you really enjoy doing?
All right. Well, I would answer that question honestly. So first of all, I enjoy doing product animation, but it is not the only thing I do. I'm of course a generalist, but I think there is something very interesting about the aspect of 3D product animation. I would say, we are in a time, probably not the time, but we have this culture, this creative culture that in the field of animation specifically that makes it feel as if the only good thing happening out there is character animation. Well, I absolutely love character animation, but I think with product animation, you get to say animation goes beyond, storytelling goes beyond just using characters.
Yeah,
You can literally tell a story with almost everything. And then for animation, you get to tell stories of characters, right? But with product animation, you get to tell stories of products. You get to give life to inanimate object, and you get to say, okay, this product here, is it a mouse? Is it a perfume? Is it a keyboard? Whatever it is, you get that flexibility of saying I can give life to this particular thing and actually tell a story. And then I think product animation is one really interesting aspect of advertising because usually many times we get limited with what we get to do by shooting videos for adverts for products. But I think with product animation, you get this really black canvas to say, I can tell whatever story I want to tell with my product using product animation. Like when you see my showreel, for instance, you get to see the product floating in the air at the opening scene. So whether you want a story, a product twisting, or you want to tell a story of a product that can stretch in a way that it wouldn't stretch in real life to
yeah.
actually be able to tell and speak about its quality. I would say product animation gives you the flexibility to do whatever you want to do with your product. So yeah, I would say these are some of the reasons I find this to be a very interesting field.
So, and like you said, there are uh, a lot of tools out there, that will allow you to, get your vision and create, great motion design. Um, Unreal. I don't know if you've had a chance to play around with Unreal or if you use Unreal. They've added motion design stuff to want to, I guess, work with motion designers. What are some of the tools that you use when you're working on some of your animations and your projects? What are the tools? Because there's a lot of great tools, both free and low cost, and obviously industry standards like After Effects and stuff. But what are some of the tools that you enjoy using?
All right. Experience has taken me through a lot of tools, and usually I am getting to a point where I'm realizing that a lot of this software, that's 3D animation software, whether I use Blender, whether I use Maya, whether I use Cinema 4D, whether I use Unreal, many of them actually do the same thing. And many times, because what tools do I use? I use Cinema 4D. Cinema 4D, of course, is what we call the industry standard for product
Yeah,
animation. We have Houdini coming up now. Houdini is now the big boy when it comes to simulation and creating a lot of cool stuff like that. Yeah. So I
yeah,
use Cinema 4D, I use Maya, I use Unreal Engine, I use Clothiri, I use Substance, depending on what I want to create. But I always try to tell artists to not get stuck, in choosing the software. Yeah, because I've realized that some of the works I've done, I was able to achieve cool results in Maya. I've been able to achieve cool results in Cinema 4D as well. So yes, whether you use Blender, a lot of people use Blender, whether I use Blender, whether I use Cinema 4D, whether I use Maya, it doesn't matter. I think what matters the most is that you have that desire to create and you are comfortable with whatever software you use. Yeah, so that surely is a combination of a lot of software, the combination of Maya, Cinema 4D, Clo 3D, Substance Painter, and a number of Adobe software.
yeah, yeah. No, it's that's such a great note to share is that it's not so much the software more so than it is the artist behind the software. I think there's so many different softwares out there that you can use, and a lot of people are creating a lot of great stuff with so many different different things out there. Mr. Dewan, uh, you seem to get tons of enjoyment out of bringing inanimate gadgets and devices to life. The CGI had a nice, clean sheen to them. Yeah, it was really, uh, almost playful. Your style of animation, and very clean, I thought as well. Mr. DeMille, appreciate you tuning in and stopping by there, brother. I know it's been a minute, so always good to see you stopping by for sure. Um, Obviously, there's this big elephant with AI now coming into the scene. How do you? What are your thoughts on AI, and the impact that it may or may not have that you think on motion design? Obviously, Sora is a big video AI software, and that's starting to become a big thing now. What's your thoughts on AI and whether or not it's going to have a immediate impact?
Okay, interesting. I think that's an interesting question, and I would say that I actually used AI for the first time in I think a few days for a particular project. I've been using AI, of course, for other things. I use ChatGPT, but like incorporating AI into 3D animation, my 3D animation workflow. I did that for the first time. I think a few days ago, and particularly for this project where I'm creating this sci-fi futuristic restaurant where I needed to create pictures for the walls of the restaurant, and I didn't have the time to start sketching out new images, and I just generated some images and I put it there. And I think while going through that process, I realized that maybe AI is not so. I know I've seen the culture recently. I've seen the way a lot of artists come out to criticize artificial intelligence. I've seen the fear in the community. I've seen the protest against artificial intelligence, and I do understand a lot of artists' perspective. I'm also very much of the opinion that AI should be used with a sense of integrity. I believe that if you use AI to do your work, you should be proud enough to say that this work is generated was generated using AI. Of course, you should not pass the don't take the glory. If you did it with AI, then I think every artist should be proud of his or her tool. Every artist should be open, like they say, stay true to your work, and your work will stay true to you.
Yeah,
With that being said, I think we artists can actually enjoy AI in a lot of ways. I think to a very large extent, AI would help artists with real substance. It will enhance their workflow. And I'll say this I'm saying this because this largely depends on how you use artificial intelligence. If you use artificial intelligence to brainstorm, right? Maybe you are trying to think of different ways to actually approach a project. I think that's cool. But the issue now is when you actually start, putting out completely generated AI work, and then, trying to claim that, all
yeah,
of this was your efforts. I think that's where the issue comes. So be honest with your use of artificial intelligence. If you are going to be using AI to enhance any of your workflow or any part of your work, I think you should be honest to say that. So I think that's my stance on using artificial intelligence when you work.
yeah, yeah. No, and I've always said I think AI is a tool that should be used to aid the artist in whatever task may be easier or quicker to do using, and it's a great ideation tool for sure. Um, and obviously, I think it's still got some kinks that needs to be worked out, both legislative with laws and things in place to really protect artists in those cases as well. Um, for you, what do you see is some of the challenges or hurdles that um, Nigeria and Africa, maybe as a whole, need to overcome for the industry to really grow even more there. Obviously, with studios like Disney partnering with studios there, and films like Kizazi Moto and Iani and others coming out, it's starting to grow. But do you see that there other things and other challenges that Africa faces as a whole for really the industry to kind of get behind motion design and animation and show it as a really viable industry?
All right, that's a good question, Don, and I think that's a question we have that has been asked a lot of time. Well, to start with, I would say I've seen a lot of amazing. I mean, when I say amazing, I've seen a lot of crazily talented artists in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. And sometimes I see these guys work, and I just can immediately tell that these guys deserve the big stage. But I would say one of the major challenges we have is that we have the ability to create, but many times we are limited by the resources. As much as I don't want to say it, we can all tell the economic situation in Nigeria. In particular, we can tell the cost of getting a good system, a good laptop that you can use to do 3D animation, for instance.
Yeah,
You can tell the cost of getting a mocap suit. You can tell the cost of subscribing, or maybe even buying maybe Maya, Cinema 4D, or some of the software. I think we one of the major things that would really help is if we have a government that is more interested, in supporting this creative industry. And of course, it doesn't just have to be from the government. We already have a lot of cool private bodies doing stuff for the animation industries. We have
yeah,
bodies like Yapi doing things for the animation industry. But I would say one of the challenges we need to overcome generally is the challenge of resources. And we resources transcend even what you have in your house. We still struggle with things like light, electricity.
yeah,
You understand that 3D animation is light intensity. You need almost perfect electricity. I mean, you want to render out your work, and you just need to be constantly plugged into power. And then you don't have that. We know the cost of fuel in Nigeria right now,
yeah,
especially with the subsidy taking off. So I think one of the major challenges we have is resources. We have the issues of manpower too. We don't have very much people. Sometimes you see Disney do a movie and you get to see that Disney get to use about 500, animators. We are still growing in terms of manpower. We are not the Nigeria animation industry and the African animation industry as a whole. It's not exactly new, but in terms of manpower, I would say we are still growing. Probably because the field is not looking as lucrative as it should. Maybe many people are not yet encouraged to venture into that field. I would say we have very few. In Nigeria, for instance, I can say we still have, quite the
oh, he kind of froze there. Hopefully he'll come back there, David. You froze up. Let me jump over to this scene here.
it doesn't
Oh,
exactly come. Sorry
there
for
we
the
go.
breaking service. Am I still on?
Yep, you kind of froze there for a second, but you're back.
All right, all right,
Yeah,
all right. So I was speaking about collaboration. Collaboration doesn't come very easy because you don't get to meet a lot of people who operate at the professional level. So I would say to circumvent this particular issue, I would say it is also advisable that we give the new hands a try, the new people trying to venture into the industry. That's why I initially said one of the ways you grow your community is by being open to speak. I think the professionals, the guys who are doing well in this game already, can be kind enough to assist people. I think one thing that would actually help us as an industry is strength in number. So I think we can be open to programs like this, and I would say that's why I think we are doing a very good job done by actually being able to connect people in the industry together. I think that's what we need. We need to be our brother's keeper at this time. we need to be able to pull people into this industry and let them know that there's actually a lot of fun in the animation industry. So I hope that answers your question. Well done.
No, it does. And I guess it leads me into the next question of if you had to put a timeline on it, how long would you say that it would probably take for that maybe to come to fruition, where you do have more backing, the infrastructure is there. If you had to kind of throw a timeline to it, when would you say that you think or you feel Africa would be at that level where we're no longer talking about resources or power or that type of stuff?
Okay, that's a very good question. I think the first thing I will say is that we are starting to get there already with the works coming out, works, and especially with the support from international bodies, even though that shouldn't be something we rely so much on.
Yeah,
Because, when we at African animation studios rely so much on international bodies, of course, they have creative control over the types of work we put out, and we want to be able to tell our stories without influence. But I would say there is a rise of African artists. When you go to LinkedIn now, when you go to Instagram, when you go to YouTube, you can see a lot of cool things we are putting out already. So I think if there is one thing we celebrate, as Africans, it's this spirit of tenacity, it's this spirit of being able to thrive irrespective of whatever challenge is being pushed at us. So I'll say we are getting there, but in terms of giving exact number of years that will be able to get catapulted and actually have an industry that thrives like that of our international counterparts. I would say it's I can't put a number of years on that because of the current set of leaders we have. I know this is not new to you. This is not new to you that we struggle with a lot of very corrupt leaders who many times are not really interested in the
yeah,
progress of the people as a whole. And I'll say because of that, we have a lot of industries being stifled. I think if we actually have leaders who are actually interested in the growth of the youth, investing in a lot of initiatives that will actually push Nigeria's animation industry upward, wouldn't be much of an issue. I think if we have a government that is willing to put the money, that is willing to get the resources, for a lot of we have a lot of Africans, a lot of youth who are not doing anything, a lot of who will be very excited
yeah,
to get on and get some of these crafts in their hands, but they don't just have the resources, they don't have the money. And I'm sorry to say this, a lot of times we are in a state where, we are thinking about, oh, what am I going to have for breakfast? What am I going to have for lunch? I don't think a youth thinking about breakfast or lunch would be thinking about, getting a system that is worth thousands of naira or even millions of naira. So while I can't exactly put a number of years, I would say our tenacity is paying off. We're actually starting to get the attention we deserve. People are getting more and more interested in what is coming out from the African continent. A lot of stories from Nigeria is starting to get a lot of public interest. So I would say we are on the rise. I would say we are no longer waiting for the government to do something. I would say our raw talent, our originality as a country, as a continent, is starting to pay off. So I think I'll just leave it at that.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely. And I've been saying this for a while. I feel like the Africa, like you said, is starting to come into its own with the content and creators that are coming out from there. Um, for you, to this point, what's been the best piece of advice that somebody's given you? And it doesn't necessarily have to be like uh, creative related. Just what's the best piece of advice that somebody shared with you?
Okay, okay. I would say the best piece of advice is every time alone is an opportunity for self investment. Every time alone is an opportunity for self-investment. I'm a self-taught artist, although I prefer to use the word community taught. And I would say I'm very passionate about learning. You know, they say being good is not good enough. I'm very much wary of being mediocre in whatever I do. So I tend to put in the work to improve myself. You know, there's a stage where you get to as an artist where a lot of people see your work and they say, wow, you're really good at that. But I'll say as an artist, continue to invest in yourself. Whenever you get the time, whenever you get moment to be alone, I think be true to yourself and tell yourself the simple truth that I need to get better in this regard. I need to improve my modeling skills. I need to improve my texturing skills. So never let the desire to keep on learning, never let that desire die. Because you know, like they say, once you stop learning, you know, you stop growing. And then if I would add to that, I would say in terms of art, one of the best advice I've gotten is that stay true to your work and your work will stay true to you. And what does that mean? That simply means do the hard work. Don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry to put out works that you don't give your work the love it deserves. Don't be in a hurry that you don't give your work the quality, the attention it deserves. I know a lot of people now. It's beautiful when you have clout. It's beautiful when you put your work out and you know there is this dopamine from people say this is good, all of these comments. But stay true to your work. Even if you don't get the comments, just know that you did a good work. You are doing a good work. If you have to go through the difficult process of maybe painting a lot of qualities, if you have to go through the difficult process of texturing your work so that it comes out good, stay honest with your work. And if you stay true to your work will stay true to you. And when your work stays true to you, I think a lot of people will start actually hearing you for your originality. They'll start hearing you for the voice with which you speak.
Oh man, that's some massive advice. On that, stay true to your work, and your work will stay true to you. Such great advice for sure. Uh, Mr. Mars Dave, nice work, David. Yeah, he does some great animation work and motion design work. Um, where are you hoping to kind of take yourself in the future? What are some of the projects and things that you would love to kind of sink your teeth into and really kind of dive into? I know you said you don't just do, product stuff, you do character stuff as well. Obviously, there's a lot of rich stories that are yet to be told from Nigeria and Africa perspective. What are some of the things that you're hoping to do, like in the future, as far as where you want to take your skill and what you do?
All right, that's a beautiful story. That's a beautiful story. Interesting enough, I was watching a review by Corridor Crew today, and I was watching a review on Planet of Apes. How about the CGI, and it was really interesting to see what they could create. And I just had this thought in my mind that, wow, what if we could actually create, cities like this that actually tell African stories? What if we could actually create environments like this that transcends what we see now? And I would say it's not just what I'm looking towards doing; it's something I'm already doing already. I would say I'm trying to actually take people on a journey. I'm trying to take people on a journey to an Africa that doesn't yet exist. I'm trying to take people on a journey to the different multiverse of the different possibilities of what Africa could be. And if you have seen some of my recent works, I wish I did send a more updated showreel to you, Don. I think I sent this a while ago. But if you have seen some of my recent work, you see that I'm very much interested in Afrofuturism.
Yeah.
That's trying to talk about futuristic stories. I'm also interested in retrofuturism, where I go into the past and take some of the things we have, some of the traditions in the past, and try to combine it with some of the things that the future would look like. So I'm looking at that. And then another very interesting aspect that I'm also venturing into is virtual reality. And I believe that
Mm,
in a short while, some of the projects I'm working on in terms of virtual reality will come into place. I'm big on education. I'm big on quality education. I believe that virtual reality is one of the things that could transform African education as a whole.
yeah,
I think education is more interesting, if it goes beyond the four walls of the classroom, if people can actually travel to what you are teaching them about. So, for instance, you are telling them about the history of Africa. Man, instead of telling them and just writing it on the board, what if you actually take them to what Nigeria looked like in the year maybe 1996 or something back then?
yeah,
So one of the things I'm trying to do, one of the things I'm going to do is that I'm going to actually be transforming the education sector too with virtual reality. I'm very big on imagination, and I believe that with virtual reality, we can actually throw people's mind into the future. You can tell children that look into the future. This is what you can do. Look into this world. This is the possibilities of the world that you can create. So yeah, I think those are part of the things I intend to do in the future. And I think
yeah.
if you eventually get to follow me on my pages, then you'll eventually get to see while I do some of these works in the future.
And we're gonna and trust me, we're going to share all of David's information on the YouTube channel and the show notes for sure. So you definitely want to make sure you connect with them, and I'm going to share that towards the end of it. But I totally agree with you that um, AR, VR, some of the newer technologies has such powerful applications of being able to educate and teach and really help in a much more meaningful and impactful way. And just people being able to connect with each other, even if they aren't in the physical space, they could still experience um, these cultures, and I don't know if you've had, and I'm super excited with just Apple Pro Vision's release of their new device, and just the potential of what VR can really do as far as, like you said, just educating, really connecting and making an experience with that. Uh, and do you see that as the case as well? That you know, as this technology, as like VR becomes, more immersive, you're getting creators that are creating much more immersive experiences, and you're getting these devices now that are starting to support these much more immersive experience. Is that where you see kind of the future going? We're kind of connecting through these immersive experiences and learning about each other through these immersive experiences.
Mm, that's a good question. Uh, yes, I would say I actually see the future going in that regard. I think there is a lot happening already. There's been a lot of growth, a lot of development technology-wise, acceptance-wise. VR is not exactly new technology. It's been here
No.
for a long time, but I think in recent time, people are actually starting to see the possibility. They're starting to see the possibilities in terms of education, in terms of medicine, in terms of entertainment. I think VR is going to be one aspect. It's going to be one aspect that is coming to stay, that will really stay for a long time, and would actually transform the way things are being done. Yeah, so I think yes, I think people are going to connect to this technology. I think to a very large extent, it is the future. I do hope that it doesn't take away the beautiful things we have, like the personal relationships, like getting to see somebody physically, going to
Yeah.
visit. Like if you have seen the movie Ready Player One, I
Yeah.
think you get
Yeah.
to see a little bit of the you get to see the legacy side of VR, right?
Oh
Then what
man,
happens when all of us get the massive
I
PRC?
could see it
I hope you
easily
understand. Okay?
sliding into something. I could see us easily sliding into something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It was entertaining. I'm like you. I would hope that most people would kind of learn to detach from, it's fun to dive into virtual reality. It's fun, you know, technology is fun, but what do they say? You should always do a little detox every once in a while from technology so you don't get so detached, so attached to it because it is easy to get attached to it. But I see the potential, like I said, of just how it can be used in training, education, just connecting people that ordinarily probably wouldn't have the opportunity to you know go to that location. I think history classes and geography classes would be much more immersive if you had an experience that they could experience true to it. So it's got the potential of really, making an impact. And I think, like you said, as more businesses and companies kind of come to the realization of how they can use it, it'll only get, and as devices and things become more powerful, I think it's only going to get better for sure. Uh, Everybody just joining in, let me know what y'all think. I'm always open to the opinions here and want to hear from you guys as well. Again, we've been having an amazing conversation with my man David here, motion designer and animator over in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. And as we kind of wind this down, I always try to be mindful. Like I said, the time difference is massive and it's late there. Uh, but it's been a fun experience having you on there. And I know you said you had some new stuff, so it's an excuse to bring you back on the show and show some of the newer stuff that you're working on there. Um, Kind of what before we kind of close this out, what parting, I mean, advice would you give to somebody younger coming in that's wanting to get into the industry? Like I said, the industry is especially over here. I'm pretty sure it's all that from what I talked with everybody. It's hitting everybody. Industry's kind of going through its little rough period right now as far as work. People finding opportunities and studios letting people go. What advice would you give to somebody younger that's maybe thinking about, going into motion design and animation, but does kind of see and hear about the landscape of how jobs are going and opportunities are going and things like that? What would you tell somebody?
All right. I think what I would tell anyone who's getting in is that do it for the love of it. I do understand, your perspective on where the industry is actually, going through some hiccups right now. Yes, there's a lot of laying off. It seems freelancing and all of that isn't as, should I say, as buoyant as it used to be, if I may
Mm,
put it that way. But what I want to say is that do it for the love of it. Um, Let it be something you do, even for fun. Let it be something you do and enjoy. Create for fun. Don't be so much, interested in creating just to probably gather followers. Don't be interested in creating. Of course, with all of this, we have responsibilities. We have families to take care of. But at the core of everything you do as an animator, at the core of everything you do as a motion designer, as a graphic designer, make sure you have some fun. Make sure you enjoy yourself. Stay true to your work. Don't let your work get influenced by probably the comments you want or whatever people out there. Remember that you are your own first audience. The first person you have to impress is yourself. So whenever you take your pen to draw something or your graphic pen to sculpt something, or you take your mouse to model something. Just know that what's most important is that you are doing it for yourself, that you are enjoying yourself. 3D is a very enjoyable process. It's a very interesting field to be. So make sure you don't have the fun, the beauty in it zapped out of the whole pressure of maybe making a name for yourself, making some money. All of that would eventually come if you stay consistent. If you continue being true to yourself, all of that will definitely come. But at the core of everything, stay true to yourself. Thank you.
Such great advice, for sure, and something that I try to keep in mind. Mr. Dewan, appreciation. I appreciate David's bit of creative advice. Stay true to yourself, and your project will stay true to you too. Yeah, such great advice, and keep it in mind. Everybody's race is different. Everybody runs at their own pace through life, and not there's always going to be people ahead of you, and there's always going to be people behind you. Everybody's got their own race to run. Uh, not Mr. Say, stay true to your work, and your work will stay true to you. Very profound. Yeah, that's a meme there. So I got to remember that for sure. Great advice. Great advice there, David. Mr. Mayo Mikon. I know I'm hacking up the words, but I appreciate you staying with me there. Mr. DeVille also agrees. Really great advice there. Again, like I said, we've been having an amazing conversation with my man David, motion designer and animator, and definitely gonna bring him back on for sure. So super excited about that. As we kind of wrap this up, please make sure that you get connected with him. You can find him on all his social platforms, which will be on the show notes, on the YouTube channel. So definitely make sure hop on over to his YouTube channel. You can see more of his work there. Instagram, as well. You can connect with him. Also, on LinkedIn, if you're looking for work or if you're looking to have some work done, definitely you can reach out to him on any of these platforms. Like I said, he does some amazing fun work for sure, and definitely looking forward to seeing even more stuff come out from David uh, in the future, and definitely looking forward to, like I said, having him back on the show. So again, make sure you check out the show notes. All of this stuff will be in it as well. David, thank you so much for coming on and being a part of the Color of Motion family. I can't thank you enough. Like I said, I know um, we've been kind of going back and forth for a while, so I'm finally glad I've been able to get you on and really uh, share with the audience, what you're doing and everything.
Thank you very much, Don. I'm really honored to be here too. Like I said, Don, you are doing a really great work. I will also be really happy to be here again to actually share more. I also want to say thank you to everyone who has taken their time to attend. So it's a community of love. It's a community of love. I definitely hope the love keeps on burning. So yes, like we would usually say in my Nigeria culture, we gather day, meaning we are here for each other. Thank
Uh,
you. Yeah.
awesome, awesome. If you
Yeah.
could hang out in the green room for a second while I close out the show, so I could talk to you after the show, I'd appreciate it. So just hang out in the green room for a second while I
All
close
right.
out the show there, David. But everybody, again, please help me thank again my guest, Mr. David Ayokanmi, for coming on the show. Hang out for just a second there, David. Guys, and gals, we've had an amazing episode today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed it as well. Like I said, about an hour. No, I hit the hour mark. And like I said, this time I tried to be really mindful of the fact that it was really late over there. I appreciate that. Mr. Mayo. I'm gonna call you Mayo Meekun. Mayo Meekun. Mayo Meekun. Good show, Don. I enjoyed it. I appreciate that. I'm glad you did for sure. Make sure that you not only come back by, but share it with your community as well. Because, like I said, I'm definitely trying to get the show growing and more people knowing about the color of motion. Like I said, the more people that can find out about the show, the more we can spread this message of having diversity within this industry and sharing news about this industry. I appreciate you there, Miss Maggie, for stopping by as well. Let's throw up a few more. Mr. Guys, this was very insightful, great advice. David, yeah, you gave some great advice there for sure. I had the feeling this would be one of the shorter episodes based on how your show, David's great reel. Yeah, yeah, great episode, nevertheless. Like I said, we're coming down to the wire here. I cannot believe next week's episode is our last episode before we take a hiatus break and roll into the last quarter of the year. And you definitely don't want to miss out on next week's guest because it's going to be just as fun. Next week's guest, we're welcoming my man, Mr. Mahmoud Mohammed, 3D environment and props artist from Saudi Arabia. He's going to be joining us. So another massive time difference there, but so looking forward to having him on and sharing some of his work there as well. So definitely don't want you to miss out on that. Like I said, this has been kind of a fun episode to do. And like I said, we're closing out this well, it's not the last quarter, but we're closing out quarter 3 of season 4. Like I said, we're going into our 5th season, so we got one more quarter to go. And like I said, next week is our last episode before we take a short hiatus break and roll into quarter 4 of season 4. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope you, like I said, enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed doing it. As always, thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time this Saturday afternoon. And I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Have a great week, everybody. Cheers.